Hi guys, welcome back again to my channel. This video is an introduction into a book review called Stay With Me that I did with a couple of my friends, and very soon you're going to be seeing our faces, but I just thought to give a brief intro. It is a book by Ayobami Adebayo, and it centers around the life of Yejide, a young woman and a young family growing and going through infertility as a couple, and just the challenges that they had to face with their kids. And it was such a very interesting book. It's a fiction book, and I thought it was worth reviewing and talking about with this ladies here. And I'm so grateful that they agreed to join me to talk about this book. I really do hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. I will see you at the end of the video. Okay, bye.
And again, so I have my friends and me, and we're going to be discussing about the book Stay With Me by Adebayo Ayobami, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves, say their names, and also why or how they ended up reading.
Hey, my name is Ifejesu, and I saw the book actually in Jeanette's house. I remember it was on the table. I read the plot and I kind of liked it, and I was on this one book, 1 month journey. So I put it on my reading list, and then towards the end of the year, I picked it up and I thought it aside.
All right, thank you. Tomi, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Tomi, and again it was Janet. I think I was doing my hair in our house or something, and then I saw it lying around, and then I picked it up and read the first few pages, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I took it after that, and then I read it, and yeah, so it was Janet.
Okay, Janet.
Hi everybody, my name is Janet. So book was that? Okay, before then, one of my Instagram crushes was reading the book, and he shared like this is his current reading list. And as per, I was like, oh yeah, the guy. Then I went.
I'm liking this story.
Then I got the book and I read it. That was someone recommended it. My Instagram.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, Ife recommended the book to me, so that's how I read it. And it's been a while I'd read a fiction book, so.
So in short, all of us, we are grateful
So
to Janet's crush.
Whoever the crush is, thank you.
Okay, so summary plot about the book. It's about a young woman, I'll say, or I don't know if she's young anymore, but a lady, and then just follows her life and journey through fertility issues, family issues, and how she sort of. What do you think about the author's style of writing?
That's a good question, Temiloluwa. Well, actually, that's a good question because this writer's style is similar to a lot of styles. No. The writer's style is similar to the style that Chimamanda uses, foreshadowing. So it starts with the middle of the story and then takes you back and then recounts things like that and so on and so forth. And a lot of people use it, but I feel like at some point especially with like African writers and Nigerian writers, because Chimamanda was making it, everybody started writing like that. So at first, that was one of the things that made me skeptical about the book, because I was thinking, okay, they started like this. Can they carry on with this vibe? Because with Chimamanda's work, she would start out with a bang and it's foreshadowing and yeah, it's seeing into the future. And then she's explaining for the rest of it, but you can still follow along and it's not boring. But a lot of people try to use that style. And then you're like, okay, it's enough. We don't need to know as much as you're giving us. Give us something else, right? But with this writer, it was consistent. All the things that we were taking back to learn and discover made sense and added up. So it wasn't flimsy details that didn't add to the story. Like every little thing that was added, or little thing that we were told did add to the story and added value and added to the suspense and the action and the melodrama. And it was, yeah. So the writing style was consistent throughout. And I appreciated that, especially in terms of suspense, because not a lot of writers can use suspense well, but this writer did it exceptionally well.
Yeah, brilliant, wonderful.
I know, right?
I think you've said all that's on our mind.
And it's a debut novel, so I think that actually surprised me. I couldn't believe it. Wow, and I was trying to find it out.
I think that's the only one she's written so far.
Yeah.
Wow, impressive.
I think the other thing I liked is that like each character told their story for the most part. It wasn't like somebody was telling their story for them. So they had their own voice in the book, which I thought was very nice and made it more personal, and it's like you're owning your own story and saying it by yourself. Yeah. Janet, any thoughts about the writing style?
I appreciated the fact that the writer used like the writing technique was familiar. The way she told the story is the way people would talk in real life. So like she used slangs, or even like if you're not used to Nigerian speaking, or if you're not used to having a casual conversation with Nigerians, there's a way Nigerians would rearrange words and the verb and everything. Me, what do you mean? What? And it's not necessarily me, comma, what do you mean? So it was very relatable and familiar, and it wasn't forced. So it was true to the Nigerian story, the Nigerian way of speaking, and the grammar and sentence structure. So that's something I really appreciated about the writing style and the technique.
Right. Yeah.
I agree. And to add to that, and there were no grammatical errors, even though that was the style, which was brilliant as well. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. So to the themes, I'll share 2 themes, and then you guys will share 2 or 1, whatever works, just in general from the book. So one is infertility and the other is sexuality, and then we'll dig deep into them. Okay, what themes?
I think societal expectation or societal pressure was a major thing here. And also, I like the fact that the background, I don't know if this is a theme, but the background of Nigerian politics in the 70s and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, those are good.
Janet?
What?
Theme in general in the book?
The theme of stupidity.
Ah.
Maybe that's not the best word to use, but that's a bit crude. I would say the theme of, I think it's stupidity really. But what I'm trying to explain is being knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Ignorance.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I get you.
Ignorance and stupidity, that kind of.
I get you.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm a romantic, love, because everything else, like, center, really, no, seriously, like, if we need to look at their definition of love, and then contrast it against infertility and all the other themes, because you can see how things play out because of their definition of love.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another theme is secrecy also. Like I feel like almost every character had the secret that exactly they were keeping.
All right. So my first question to you would be, Ifeja, my first candidate on the hotspot. So with infertility, right? We see that I think Yejide was more on the receiving end about being infertile and like, why don't they have a child yet? They should get a second wife. Or ended up saying that the husband was the problem. Why? What do you think about the Nigerian culture of the woman being more at the receiving end, and how do you think we can start to shift and educate people about problems of infertility?
I don't know if it's just a Nigerian thing. I feel it's a societal thing. I think maybe Nigeria is still a little bit maybe more backwards and leaning towards it a lot, but yeah, most of the time when you're talking about infertility, it's always the woman. It's always the woman most of the time. And because of this program, so I decided to do research on infertility and how you shift the, what do you call it, like how many percent, like statistics of infertility, right? And apparently in the United States, I'll start with the United States, the cause of infertility among married couples is actually equal. Like most times the man and the woman, it's equal between both parties. I think they said 1/3 of the time is usually the man, 1/3 of the time is usually the woman, 1/3 of the time is usually either the man or the woman, or both the man. And I was surprised because I thought it was more on the woman, but I thought maybe the difference would be like 60%, 40%, right? But I didn't know, like in the United States, equal. In Canada, I think it was 8 out of it was also very similar. I think it was 4 out of 6 or 5 or something like that, but it was actually closer than I thought. And I think the reason why women most of the time are often on the receiving side when it comes to fertility issues, ignorance. And when you think about having babies, right, it's a woman that is carrying the baby. She's the one that basically manifests pregnancy, right? So whenever there's a problem, it's the woman you're looking at, like, okay, where's the belly, right? The man is not showing any belly. So maybe that's the reason why most of the time it's always, okay, how far now? What's happening?
Right.
Most of the time, even if you see a couple and maybe they just got married, it's the woman you're looking at to see to check for signs of something there, something
The manifestation.
manifestation of the good work. So there's that
Evidence.
evidence of their love. And it's just really sad because most of the time this pressure is just ridiculous. Like what women have to go through, like from the book you can see like my mother-in-law, family members, and just look at even society, like even experience from what you've seen. See ladies going through different rounds of IVF, people talking, people praying. It's usually the woman that will be going for most of the time from one prophet to another prophet, going through different rituals, I'll call them, just to get pregnant. And the anointing is sometimes women don't actually include husbands in the conversation. Like they put everything on themselves, and that's where ignorance also comes in, because everybody's looking at them like, okay, where's the baby? Then they won't actually say, okay, Mr. Man, let's go and check you too. Like both of us, let's go. It's always me. There's something up with me. Let me pray. Maybe I did something wrong. And maybe this, maybe that, maybe that. So of course, we also have to look at, like, it's important to, like you say, it's important to educate. Education is really important. Like if you're aware that it could be from the man, it could be from the woman. Different things could go wrong. It could even be from neither of you. There are different reasons why it could be infertile. So I think society educating people on the causes of infertility is one big way we can actually shift the focus from men to women, or not even from men to women, like just make us have
that it's more of a couple problem.
Couple problem is
exactly.
Problem. It's not just a woman problem, because even if the woman is the one infertile, the man has a role to play also. Like when you're talking about, okay, the different ways that you can walk toward, like, okay, you're talking about maybe watching your calendar, having sexual intercourse at a particular time, IVF cycles, the man has a part to play also, right? The man, either for emotional support, physical support, financial support, there's so much that the man actually has to play in that. Like if the woman is the one that has the problem and she's willing to, okay, fine, I'm actually willing to look for a solution to this problem, and the man is not forthcoming, no baby is going to appear. It's always a two-way thing. So educating the society, and women also have to understand that it's a two-way thing, right? Because like I said, sometimes we ourselves, we are the ones that put the thing out. Like if you look at the movie, it's always women that all ask other women, what's happening now? Say you are doing this, you are doing that. You understand? So we women, sometimes we ourselves, we have to educate ourselves, and we have to be aware that it's not the woman's thing all the time. So,
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about, Tomi, this question is for you. So we talked about secrecy, and then you mentioned something about the definition of their love being the reason why. And I want to think that obviously had a part to play in what they thought they should tell each other, how they were trying to look out for each other, what they thought was best for each other in their communication. And so that's probably why they also kept some things from each other. How would you contrast, like you said, their love against everything, these challenges they faced and how they dealt with it? What do you think was their definition, and how did it impact on their journey?
So I think it starts out with the beginning, right? When he explains how he was infatuated with her when he first saw her, and he felt like he needed to do everything to get her and kill himself, do whatever, even riots, be a man, show her that he was in love. And I don't think that contradicts how God loves us. So I'm sorry, but that's how I think about most of the things that concern love. Because it's not necessarily about love is an action, but it shouldn't be about the actions you're performing that determine whether a person loves you. It's a choice to love, right? It's a choice for us to love God, and God just loves us. It's not because of the things we do. So with him, it's clear that he feels like there are actions that he needs to take, and there's a persona that he needs to put up for her to love him in return, because he has decided that he loves her based on the way she looks. So all his actions, the secrets he keeps, everything is because he believes that love is about presenting an image and performing some actions so a person can love you. It's not about a choice. It's not about who the person is. It's not a knowledge of what true love is and how God loves people. It's just, oh, I need to be this way. And if I'm this way, then she'll love me. I need to do these things, she'll love me. So I think that's really where the roots of their problem is, his idea of love, the beginning of their relationship, and how he plans to continue in that way. Like, he doesn't see their relationship changing or evolving, even though every relationship should change and evolve. He's just like, okay, this is how it started in the beginning, and eventually she fell in love with me as well. So this is how it should stay. I should protect her. I should do whatever. I should be the man and be a strong man that can do whatever. Even give her the child that she wants. Doesn't matter how, as long as I can do that. So that's why I say it's their concept of love. Even with infertility that you talked about, right? So I feel like if you look into most of the people where it's the woman that's taking it on, yes, I agree with you that a lot of women take it on their own. But the women that are not necessarily communicating with their husbands and feel like it's their journey by themselves, with the man not contributing to whatever is going on and doing the checkups and doing everything with them, it's really their concept of love that's questionable. Because if you're following the Bible and you're loving your wife as yourself, then you can put yourself in her shoes. When people are saying things, you would hear them. You would even be able to anticipate the kind of things people would say to her. So you'd act accordingly. But if you're shutting down and you're just like, yeah, I'm a man, so it cannot be me, you're on your own, then of course you're not following the biblical template of what love should be, and then everything falls apart. Because once one thing falls apart, then everything else starts falling apart, and you can't communicate because you don't feel safe enough to communicate because that person is the man, and you cannot communicate with the man now. He already knows.
That's why. And that means that I think the man and the woman should both go for checkup. Like, nobody should go individually. Two of them should go. Let's know that. Let's go to the same doctor
and receive
the result the same day. Because the husband went to a different doctor and said, there's no problem with me. The wife also went to the doctor and said, there's no problem with her. But so one of them was lying. You have to read the book to figure it out. And we could not decide, or it was hard to tell because both of them were like, they are okay according to what they heard from the doctor. I think couples should actually both go together, the same doctor, and get response. So Janet, over to you. So we see that Yejide, initially had something that we call like a false sense of pregnancy, where your body's producing all the hormones, and you actually are starting to blow up and look like you're actually pregnant, but you're not. And I think she also started to see a psychiatrist. So I know there's mental health and there's stigma around mental health. What can you say about mental health right now in the context of even an African community? I want to say that I want to think that developed countries are more what's the word? More, they acknowledge it more, they see it, they treat it, they work on it and stuff, compared to like underdeveloped countries, in my own opinion. So what do you think about that, and how can we push or educate our people more about mental health, and how do you even deal with it as a Christian, hearing that is not knowing the usual phrase of nobody can be depressed as a Christian and stuff like that.
That's many questions together in one, back to back. I don't know where to start from. Mental. I don't know. Like, I cannot really speak about the African community really when it comes to mental health, because my formative years that I came to understand mental health and what it is and how it is treated, I didn't really grow up in the African community. I grew up like in Canada, and that's like Western world where it's more like there's still stigma in Canada about mental health and mental illness, but there's a lot of stigma actually, but it's more acknowledged, more treated, and there are resources around it. So I can't really contrast how like the African community would treat it. And the friends I have are also open an understanding of mental illness. I can't really speak deeply about African countries in general.
She already took out that glass with that. What do you want to say? To me, it's like,
But I can speak to the Christian's perspective or the Christian view of mental health and mental illness. I mean, I've spoken to some Christians who don't believe in mental illness and depression and all of that, and they do think, oh, it's the work of the devil, it's demonic, it's spiritual, it's all spiritual, and you just have to pray it out and chase it out and all of that. And yes, there's the spiritual aspect to it, because yes, we live in a spiritual world, but there's also the physical aspect to it where you need to seek help. And I don't even think we talk about mental health as much as we should in the church. And we don't, I'm not saying that's all we should focus on, but we hardly focus on it. And I think we need to do better as Christians and as the body of Christ when it comes to talking about mental health and mental illness and helping people seek help. I mean, and also as an individual, are you educated? Do you know what mental health is? Do you know, you might think, oh, you're a better person because you would not discriminate against someone with mental health, but are you? What unknown biases do you have when you see someone behaving suspicious, or when you see someone possibly has a mental health issue? What do? Do you run away, hide, gossip, or start to think, oh, this person, I don't want to be friends with this person before they come and kill me? But that's not mental illness works, right? So I think we should be educated as individuals, because the change we want to see in the world starts from us. If I'm educated, if I know what it entails, if I get the mental health first aid training, then I can support myself and I can support the people around me to do better. So, I mean, we can change the world and do a lot of things, but if we don't change ourselves, I think, then there's nothing, we cannot effectively help people or help ourselves. I also think it's important. I mean, I believe in therapy and counseling as a person. I think every African should attend counseling. I think every person, really, every single individual should attend counseling. It is expensive, but there are subsidized psychiatrists and counselors we can see. And I think everybody should attend counseling, because trauma, known or unknown trauma, the world is messed up. We live in a fallen world, and you don't know the baggage you're carrying until you realize that you're carrying a baggage. You might think you're okay and everything, but you keep responding in a negative way to a particular circumstance, and you need to unpack why you keep behaving that way. So I think, yes, we want to take care of other people, but if we don't take care of ourselves first, if we don't seek help, if we don't surround ourselves with supportive, sensible people, then we'll continue to engage in falling activities with the world, basically. It was quite unfortunate what the lady Yejide went through. I mean, it was good that she had a psychiatrist to go to, but I think she only got to talk to a psychiatrist because it was extreme. And if at the very beginning, at the beginning of their marriage, they had started counseling and therapy sessions, their definition of love might have been unpacked. They would have gotten better communication strategies and more effective way to navigate their relationship. We see various ways the family and extended families were making decisions and bringing people they were not supposed to bring in. But if there was like a counseling at the beginning or through the process, they would have redefined what they wanted their marriage to mean to them themselves, and not when, if they were proactive with the health of their marriage in general, then things would have been way better than bringing in a psychiatrist after there was a bulging stomach, after she was not seeing her period, after she was basically out of it.
Yeah.
So being proactive with her health and just seeking help and seeking to do better in general.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Tomi, looks like you wanted to
Sorry, I wanted to say in support of what Janet said. So there's a video on YouTube. It's called That's what I was looking for. Let's talk with Dr. Anita Phillips. So she's a Christian psychologist person that can explain some of the questions Christians would have with going to see somebody about psychological illnesses and things like that. So it's a very good video to watch.
Let's talk with Dr. Anita Phillips.
Dr. Anita Phillips, yes.
Okay.
Another thing I want to add is, as a Christian also, like if you're going through, or even not even as a Christian, everybody, if you're going through like mental health and you want to see a therapist or a counselor, it's important to see somebody that is certified. You understand? Like, okay, I'm going for counseling, no, doesn't mean I'm going to meet my mom for counseling. Except maybe your mom said, you understand? Or I'm going to meet
minister in the church.
I'm going to meet exactly that minister in the church. I'm going to meet my mentor. Or even I'm going to meet my friend. Because sometimes your friends are there for you, but sometimes unburdening everything can actually be traumatic for them also. So it's important to go meet people that are certified, that are professional, and like do your research, I guess.